My name is Tiffany, and I am grateful for my family being restored as a result of my sobriety. And my clean date is April the 8th, 2018.
Woo! Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to Choosing Recovery. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Scott A. And today we have with us...
Take it over, Tiffany.
How's it going? Thanks for jumping on with us. We're super excited. I know you're really close with Liv, and I'm just getting to know you more. So, we're pumped to have you on here. We're going to jump right into the questions, though. So, what was your drug or drugs of choices if you had multiple, and at what age did you start using any substance?
My drugs of choice was anything that would make me go to sleep. I liked benzos. I liked opiates. Heroin ultimately became my drug of choice during most of active addiction. But I started out with benzos when I had really bad anxiety. So I guess I don't really know when I started misusing them, but I would probably say like 17 or 18.
Okay.
Wow.
Long time.
Yeah, she just answered that one.
Yep. So our next question would have been, how long have you used for? So awesome.
Yes.
And now, who did your addiction affect?
Everybody. And I spent the whole time thinking that it was only hurting myself. Oh. And for a long time, I was in denial about that too, that I didn't think it was hurting me. Because I used from the doctors. You know, for a long time, I had a lot of medical issues and stuff. Yep. Anxiety on top of some issues with pain and stuff from endometriosis and things like that. And it was legal. And my mom did not realize it when she was doing it when I was growing up. But she taught me how to manipulate the doctors because she had an addiction as well.
Wow.
And she's had like 60 surgeries in her life. She had a motorcycle wreck and was a below the knee amputee. And so like she didn't even realize she was doing it. And she was teaching me how to do that. So I didn't feel like it was always normal for me because I had seen it my whole life. So I was like, this is normal. It's okay, you know. But so I didn't realize I had a problem for a long time because I used the whole, it's written by a doctor, it's fine type thing.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So what led you to get clean?
I overdosed in a public parking lot at a grocery store. And up until that point, my husband and maybe like one other person knew that I was using heroin. And so like I live in a really, really small town, and there were fire trucks and police cars and EMTs and all of that. And I almost died. They gave me 4 doses of Narcan to wake me up. And that was when I realized, oh my God, I can't do this. And a lot of it was because everybody else found out too. I was like, okay, I'm busted. I almost just died. And at that point, let's see, that was 3 years ago. So my kids were 5 and 6 at the time.
Yep.
And everybody found out. My whole secret was blown, you know, and I realized I couldn't do it anymore.
And I'm so glad you're here with us today, Tiff, because it's scary to hear overdoses.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't make it through that. And it's a very scary situation. And it happens to, you know, everybody pretty much.
Yeah, and you're speaking someone's story right now, you know, someone...
Your own,
yeah, exactly.
With somebody else,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, the only reason that I'm even here talking to you, whenever I nodded out, I didn't remember anything else, but my head laid on the horn of our car, and it was really sensitive, and it called people to my car because I was parked in the same spot where I met the guy in the parking lot and got the dope from. Like, it wasn't anywhere somebody would come looking for me, you know. And like, I fully believe God saved my life that day because I had a very spiritual experience when it happened.
Wow.
It was out of body, like, you know, in the movies, they always talk about the big bright light and all that kind of stuff. Well, I always kind of believed that was true, but I figured that Hollywood made it different, you know?
Yeah.
But it looked the same. It was like this bright light so bright you couldn't look at it, the size of a pencil eraser. And I just had this feeling in the pit of my stomach that I knew I was going to die.
Wow.
And it was just like uncontrollable fear because I didn't know what was on the other side of that light. Was that going to be something good or was it going to be something bad because of where I had gotten myself through my addiction and everything. And so I was like moving towards it, but my feet weren't moving. And I started praying and I was like, you know, make sure my babies know that I love them and make sure my husband knows that I love him because this isn't his fault. Because he sent me to get the dope. It wasn't even supposed to be for me. Like, he told me not to touch the bag. Like, you're going to send a heroin addict to get heroin and tell him not to touch the bag. I helped him look for dope I've already done. Like, that's just, you don't do that. And I said, but God, if you'll just let me wake up, I promise I will never do it again. And the next thing I know, it was like somebody snapped their fingers and I had EMTs in my face fixing to intubate me because they couldn't get me breathing. And they said I had been out for almost 7 minutes and should have had brain damage. And the only thing I had was, I have a little bit of short-term memory loss now, but I don't know if that's my ADD or if that's from that. And they gave me a bag of fluids and I ended up going to detox. I shouldn't be here.
Wow, Tiff. Yeah, I'm so unbelievably grateful you're here today. And you are just a testimony to the amount of, like, the woman you can turn out to be. And I'm so glad that, you know, like, you thought of your kids, you know, and you thought of your husband. And that just goes to show, like, we are filled with love, right? And I'm just so glad that you're here with us today, and you're able to be a mother to your children, you're able to be a wife to your husband, and yeah, it's incredible.
It is
so scary.
Yeah. How are you staying clean today?
Honestly, Olivia helps me stay clean a lot. Giving back through the podcast and stuff, like, I've really found, like, my people with it. And, like, I don't think Liv realizes how much it really does affect me. I'm fixing to cry. I said I was
going to
do that.
Make me cry, girl.
You always cry.
I
know.
It's a community that I haven't been able to find. Like, I have trouble bonding with people, like, in-person meetings sometimes because of our town being so small and stuff, and with my job, there's a lot of the time I don't, you know what I'm saying? I could be screening these people also because we are such a small town. And so, like, this has given me, like, a project and, like, a community and, you know, something to do that's going to help somebody else. And finding y'all on TikTok was just the most random thing ever because I hadn't even used it for real. Like, I hadn't made no content whatsoever. I just used it to watch videos. And then I saw some of y'all's stuff and I was like, you know what? I can do that.
I love it. I love it.
So now I'm in the middle of sharing my whole story on TikTok. I've never done that before either. So
I've been
it's
seeing
going good.
Yeah, I've been seeing
I try to keep myself busy.
That's awesome. Being productive, you know, giving back to the community is huge.
And definitely going to church too, because me and my husband are both really involved. You know, I think being spiritually fit is just as important as being mentally, and, you know, that all of that goes into being sober. But he is actually in the process of starting school to become a minister, and me and him are wanting to start a rehab in our hometown.
I love it. You can do it. I love it. You can do it.
I know, for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of us find belief in a higher power because we all know what it's like to be in hell, you know. It saved my life in many ways, mentally, physically, spiritually. I had to change every aspect of my life, and that's the only way I was able to end up where I am at today. So, yeah. What's your biggest accomplishment in your recovery thus far?
I don't really know. I just kind of, like, take it day by day, and I know that's crazy, but I guess my biggest accomplishment is being able to take it every day.
Yes,
that really is, like, that's my biggest accomplishment, because that's really hard. I like to control everything, and I like to, you know, it's my way or the highway kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I just have been able to, like, get spiritually fit to the point where, okay, I'm realizing that this is a blessing of sobriety. I'm realizing that being here with my kids is a blessing. Like, it's just kind of being able to stop and take in all of the good stuff and know that it wouldn't be here if you weren't working your butt off to keep it that way.
Yeah. Love that.
Now,
Yeah.
Important.
would you change anything knowing what you know now?
Like about my drug use?
Absolutely.
No.
Ah,
I really don't think I would, because I've always wanted things the way I wanted them. I'm an only child, and so is my husband, so that makes for some fun stuff. But, you know, I wanted things my way, and my way gets me in trouble.
mhm.
But I feel like that the reason that I am still alive is to help other addicts. And had I not ever started using, I don't know if I could have been of help to this many people. And I don't think I would be the person I am today had I not went through all of that and came out the other side of it. I think I'm a very strong and confident version of myself now, whereas before I was just using to self-medicate for depression, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, and I didn't want to leave my house. And only reason I wanted to leave my house is if I was going to get some dope. You know, so,
Yeah.
And it doesn't ruin my life anymore. Like, I remember, especially when me and my husband were using together and hiding it from everybody, or thought we were, you know, and every family function, if it was Easter, if it was barbecue, if it was whatever, like, we were going to be late because we were going to be waiting on the dope man somewhere before we went, because we wouldn't go without anything. And it was almost like a Bonnie and Clyde situation. Me and him were so toxic for each other. And, you know, before you asked me what my drug of choice was, and it is opiates and benzos. But after I got sober, my husband became my drug of choice. And trying to fix him, because there was 2 years after, he didn't get sober till 2 years after me.
Wow, that's crazy. Good for you, girl.
Yeah.
That takes a lot. Good for you.
And it was awful.
Yeah,
it was
be proud of
absolute
yourself.
hell, because
Yeah.
he changed from heroin to meth, and that just sent him just
over the edge.
It was awful. And so, like, everybody's like, I don't understand how you didn't use. I don't understand how you didn't use. He made me hate it.
Yeah.
It was the first time I had been directly affected by somebody else's drug use while I was sober. And it pissed me off, and it made me hate it. And I'm like, no, that is not going to be me. I'm not going to cause chaos wherever I go. You know, like, I'm not living like this. And it was like I was living in somebody else's addiction for so long. And, you know, we ended up separating for a while because of it, because he was in and out of jail and out of rehab. And then he finally got sober, and we're back. We're still together.
And that's really why we want to tie in the family series with this, because we want people to know how much it really does directly impact the people around us. You know, so like, yeah, right. When you think,
and I love it when, honestly, I absolutely love it when people say no, they wouldn't go back and change anything. Just because, like you said, like, today I'm where I'm supposed to be. I know that in my heart. And if I never went through addiction, I would not be here. I wouldn't even be me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would be someone else. Yeah. But where I am today is such a beautiful thing to be. And I know in my heart and soul that this is where I'm meant to be. And I love it when people answer, no, I wouldn't change anything, because I've learned so much with life. Or I've learned to love myself. You know, and like, what? You know, like, that's not normal.
Down to everything else, you know, to how you raise your children, to you know, how everything.
Exactly.
You don't, but when you're in the middle of the addiction, you don't realize how much it's just messing up everything.
Yeah. Awesome.
Now, if you could say something to someone who is still actively using, what would you say to that person?
That it's okay to get help. And that there's people out there that are not going to shame you and not going to treat you like garbage, and that are going to love you. And there's a lot more people that have been where you are and have overcome it than you even realize that you walk around with every day. You're not by yourself, and it's possible.
Yeah.
If I can do it, anybody can do it. You know?
Love it.
That's awesome.
Now, if you could say something to someone it's been a while since
it's been a while. It's okay.
If you could say something. Now, if you could say something to a family member of someone that struggles with addiction, what would you say to that family member?
Wow, that one's loaded. You can't fix them. And that sucks because that's what you want to do is fix them. And they're not doing any of this because they don't love you or because you did something wrong. You can't go and go over everything you ever said or did or how you raised them or whatever. And because it doesn't matter, addiction doesn't discriminate. And it's not your fault, but you have to let them decide they want help because you can't, you'll drive yourself crazy trying to fix them.
No. You will. Awesome. So yeah, we're going to open the floor to you now to share anything you want to anybody out there that needs to hear it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, after I overdosed, one of the things that I had to come back to was my very small town. And I was so ashamed. And we were talking to the girl that was president of the Students Against Destructive Decision Club in high school. Okay. Like I was the last person anybody would have ever thought would ever have used. And I've had people tell me that countless times. You're the last person I would have ever thought. Well, tell me what a drug addict looks like.
Yeah.
Because it's not the little, guy that's your stereotypical crackhead sitting on the side of the road with a bottle. It's your receptionist at your doctor's office that's got a habit, and her husband just brought her some dope through the window a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
You don't know what people are dealing with. But after my overdose, everybody knew. And I knew then that I either had to be loud about it or I was going to be in a hole for the rest of my life. So I decided, for all the people who said I wouldn't do it or were so disappointed in me or whatever, that I was going to do it. And I went to a halfway house after detox. That's the only place we could find, because if you don't have good insurance, you're just it. And we didn't know enough about it to know that there were scholarships available then. And, I went to this place and they said they were going to have a bed for me. Got $800 from my family. Get there, I was sleeping on a couch from Goodwill. They didn't even have a bed. These people were literally worshiping spirits that supposedly lived inside the house. I was wigging, and I called them. I had been there for 4 days, and I could not take it anymore. I was literally sleeping with my Bible under my pillow. Like, I was terrified. Stuff was moving, doors were opening. It was a whole thing. Like, I can't.
Oh my
And
God.
so I called him and I'm like, listen, and my husband's still using, by the way, and I took the fall for everything at this time when I'm in detox. I know the thought process was there at the time,
Yeah,
because we don't want DHR to take our kids. So I'm just going to take the fall for you too, because, you didn't know I was using whatever. We made up some lie and he was still using at the time. So anyway, I call him and I'm like, look, I want to get sober. I do not want to use anymore, but I cannot get sober here. This is going to hurt me more than it's going to help me. I have got to do something.
Wow.
I said, because I didn't think they were going to let me come home. And because I was supposed to stay there for a year. I was there for 4 days, and they when they came up and got me, they were like, yeah, this place has like very sketchy vibes. I'm like, I told y'all,
Yeah.
And so then I did intensive outpatient therapy locally here, and I did it for about 5 months, and got really plugged in with AA and with Celebrate Recovery. Okay. And I just did the dang thing.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And for a long time, that was very hard. And I became a single mom, and I never thought I would be having to deal with that. But I was able to do it sober. And then me and him almost got divorced. And then we didn't. So next month, we'll be married 11 years. Yay! And he just celebrated his first year of sobriety.
That's awesome.
Yay!
I know, and my family's back together, and mine and his relationship's been restored. I don't even think about who he used to be, and my kids have a great relationship with him and me, and, and again, like, that's a blessing. The fact that I'm able to say that is the biggest blessing, and I wouldn't have it if it had been a few more minutes. That's all I got.
Well, I want to say you have such an incredibly huge testimony, Tiffany. Your story is amazing. It's the fact that you went and you got into your recovery, right? And then you made a decision for yourself and you said, this place is not meant for, or I don't like this place.
Yes.
You left, you took yourself into intensive outpatient and you completed the program and you're still sober today. I think that's absolutely incredible because anybody that's watching this, if nobody's story, like everybody resembles each other's stories, right? But you're going to find somebody's story that you can relate to because maybe it wasn't meant for you, but you still went and you found a way to find your own sobriety. That's what I'm trying to say here is your recovery, you made it your own and you knew in your heart and soul what was right for you and you went and did it. And I think that's incredible.
And I mean, I'm thankful for the overdose. I never thought I would say that, but I'm so thankful for that overdose because that made me realize really quick that I was not indestructible. And I knew right then that it wasn't worth my life, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just, it changed everything. And you don't hear a lot of people that just go to one rehab and get clean and, you know, whatever. Like my story's not a normal one. It's not.
Right.
And I'm thankful that it didn't take me as long to get to my rock bottom, you know, because the rate I was going, I mean, before that overdose, I had overdosed 4 days before that.
Wow.
So, and that wasn't enough, so I had to go do it again. But that last one, I was like,